On this edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher.
We got down 7 runs fast, and it was just like, oof, man, like this is not good. We started to score some runs. You started to get some momentum. Dan Johnson obviously hit the big home run to tie it up, which was awesome. And within 3 minutes, dude, Longo hits the home run. Everybody goes crazy. If we played cricket, like he would have hit over 100 home runs because he would pull so many balls foul that were home runs. Because he was just like his top hand, you know, with that bat waggle was so strong that he would get it, he would catch it out front and be able to backspin it. And like, I'm like, bro, why don't you just aim that way? Like, what are you doing? Rowdy he's a freak of nature. It was special to watch what he was able to do on a nightly basis. You know, it just seemed like everything was easy for him. It was crazy. You know, I was in his group in spring training and we're like hitting off the machine. He just didn't have to like try so much harder. You know, it was a little frustrating to be honest. I'm like, dude, I'm killing myself over here. My favorite part with Trouty was just, he was so humble. He's very down to earth. He's the best. I almost fell running to the outfield as we like went out to take the field because I couldn't feel my legs. I was so nervous. It was just really hard to like calm down and slow the game down. Like my stride in the box was so long. I ended up walking my first at bat. I popped one up. And then I hit a line drive to right, and then they ended up pulling me out of the game. Obviously, first big league game, something you never forget, especially sold out crowd like that. That was cool.
The greatest sports moments happen in seconds, but the stories behind them are timeless. Dive into the mind of the icons who lived those moments. No filters, just authentic conversations about the moments that define careers. I'm Justin Kutcher, and this is the Just in Time podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher, joined now by a guy who played 14 years in the big leagues, was an all-star in 2011, and he's the closest thing I've ever seen to a Max Homa lookalike. It is Matt Joyce. Matt, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it, man.
I'm going to have to look up a picture there. I don't know. Is he a good-looking dude or what?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. He's a great golfer. You know, when we played golf together and you had like the scruff going and you had the hat on, I was like, damn, I feel like I'm playing right now with Max Homa.
Yeah. I don't know if I played that well, but it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. How are you doing? How's life going?
Well, so good. Life is amazing. I'm still down in Tampa, Florida. I was born and raised here. So, you know, we've enjoyed the winter weather. I haven't really dealt with the terrible cold like you guys have up north. So get a little spoiled down here. Traveling a bunch. You know, we still got the gyms, which keep me busy. Obviously, spring training started. So I need to pop over there and say hello to the boys, check in on the Rays. They just changed the ownership. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good progress, and staying busy.
Awesome. I love to hear it. For me, for this podcast, it's all about storytelling, and I get to do a deeper dive into people that I've known. And when I did a deeper dive into you, I realized, okay, so you're drafted in 2005 by the Detroit Tigers. In 2005, I was the radio broadcaster for the Erie Seawolves.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So in that year, we had Justin Verlander, he came up to Double-A.
Yep.
Joel Zumaya was there for the entire time. We had, I mean, those two guys right there were nasty.
Yep.
And you ended up playing in Erie before you made it to the big leagues. So I need to ask you right now, do you remember anything about Erie going out? Because there are a couple of good bars right there in Erie.
I mean, do I remember anything about Erie? For sure. First off, Erie was cold as crap. We got snowed out. We got snowed out our first series, and we had like 4 games where, I mean, it was miserable. It was terrible, and like we ended up getting snowed out. And then, you know, I mean, obviously early on in the season, you're just battling the cold, and I stumped the place up, dude. I did not play well at all. Like the first 2 months, I hit like 190. And Matt Walbeck was our manager. He was a former catcher. And he called me in the office and he's just like, Matt, you know, if you can't get it going, dude, like we're gonna have to make a move here and send you down or something. And you know, I was already like stressed out and struggling. I was like, dude, that's not what I need to hear here, man. So I mean, honestly, that was an important part for me because I ended up picking up some books that really helped the mindset
Really?
And yeah, one of them was like Law of Attraction. There was another mental coaching book, and it just helped me to shift, just my mindset of like how I was looking at everything, kind of overcoming the adversity. And then literally a year later, I was getting called up to the big leagues. But Erie was a good spot. I didn't go out too much. I really wasn't a guy that went out a lot. We did have a few teammates that hit up the bars. I did end up dating a girl that was um so do you know the what is this called, like Cirque du Soleil? So Cirque
Okay.
du Soleil,
Yes.
yeah. And they have the red banners that come
Yes.
down, and
Yes.
like the
Yes.
girls twirl. And it's like the one of the most in shape girls I've ever seen in my entire life. So it was good summer.
So she was actually the motivation for you to buy the gyms and have the gyms now. I got it. All makes
Yeah,
sense.
or I should have invested in Cirque du Soleil a little more, I guess. I don't know.
There was a great bar there called the Plymouth, and my best friend, he and I were in Erie at the same time. He was a sports reporter anchor. I was the broadcaster for the Seawolves. We made no money whatsoever, but you can go, and I think they had like quarter beer night.
Oh God.
And yeah, for like $5, you're a king,
Yep.
right? Like, hey, drinks on me. And they had pretzels. And yeah, I can remember having a full meal, drinks, everything. It was like $8. I was like, wow,
Yeah, yeah. Living large over here.
this is the life of minor leaguers. You mentioned you get called up the next year to Detroit. May 5th. What does that date mean to you?
Yeah, I mean Cinco de Mayo, right? Another kind of situation where Lance Parrish was our manager in the minor leagues in AAA, and I was actually playing well. I started the season really hot. I think I had 8 or 9 home runs in the first month, and Leyland came down to watch me play, and I ended up hitting 2 home runs in that game that he saw. And then Jock Jones was playing left field, and he was struggling, and so they just kind of decided to make the move. And so Parrish called me in the office. He's like, "Hey, Matt, you had a couple hard hit balls yesterday. Felt like you should have ran them out a little better. So we're going to make a move. So we're calling you up to the Tigers, to Detroit, and you're starting tonight against the Red Sox. So go get your stuff and go get ready." And so I was already dressed for batting practice, and I was like, "Oh, geez." So they were packing up my stuff, grabbed my stuff. I was driving like 95 miles an hour from Toledo to Detroit, and made as many phone calls as I could. Talked to my dad, my sister, family and stuff, and it was, dude, it was insane. You just go from playing in front of maybe 2,000 ish people roughly, to that night was Thursday night baseball, sold out crowd against the Red Sox. So we had 40,000 people. Dice K was on the mound, and so it was on ESPN too. And so, millions of people watching. And I just remember like my heart is beating out of my chest. I almost fell running to the outfield as we like went out to take the field because I couldn't feel my legs. I was so nervous. And yeah, man, it was just really hard to like calm down and slow the game down. Like my stride in the box was so long. I ended up walking my first at bat. I popped one up, and then I hit a line drive to right, and then they ended up pulling me out of the game. But obviously, first big league game, you're something you never forget, especially sold out crowd like that. That was cool.
So wait, what time did you get to Detroit to Comerica Ballpark?
I mean, they were finishing batting practice, right?
What?
So it was, I don't even know, 5-ish.
And you were in the lineup.
And I was in the lineup. Yeah. I think I was in like 5th or 6th or something. I was like, what is happening right now? Crazy.
Who was the
So,
player when you walked in that clubhouse who was like, "Yo, what's up? Welcome."
oh God, I don't, everybody was out like for batting practice.
Right.
I think I hit in the last group, which typically the starters would hit in the first 2 groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Marcus Timms, Brandon Inge, those guys, kind of was like, "Oh, all right, hey, look who's here." So, but yeah, I remember spring training, I was starstruck. I mean, they had everybody. Gary Sheffield, Pudge was there. Obviously, Verlander wasn't, who he is now. But everybody knew, he was the guy. And it had everybody. I mean, Kenny Rogers, just up and down. Magglio Ordonez, Blanco, Granderson, everybody. That team was stacked.
I've always wondered how do you, like you just said you were starstruck in spring training. How do you get past that? Like, how do you all of a sudden be like, no, you know what? Okay, I'm here with these guys, like I'm one of their peers. Or do you never feel like you're a peer? You're always looking up to them.
I mean, honestly, I try not to think about it. I mean, this is a long time ago, right? So this was 2008 for spring training. And that was the first time where I was around, enough guys where it was like, oh my God, dude, like this is crazy right now. Just multiple future Hall of Famers, potential Hall of Famers. And so, I mean, I think for me, I was just a little bit more of a quiet, reserved kid. And so it's just like, hey, go about your work and like just try to earn, some kind of credibility, some kind of recognition and open up some eyes. And, I mean, I remember I had Leyland and Magglio, make a comment of just like, hey man, you got a nice swing. Like you can hit. And like just hearing that from those two guys, was everything. I was like, oh my God, seriously? Like that's the coolest thing ever. Right? This guy just hit 370 the year before. And I'm like, wow, dude, that's sick. So, and when those guys kind of show you a little bit of love like that, that's very reassuring and builds the confidence. And then it's just about like, hey, work your butt off to try to get there and then stay there.
You said Leyland came down to Toledo to watch you. Did you know he was in the stands to watch you?
No. I probably would have rolled over some balls, popped them up or something, tried to do way too much. I did not know he was in the stands. So yeah, fortunately for me.
So when you got called up, did he ever come up to you? Because Leyland's been a guest on this podcast, and I love him. Like, I love doing games when he was a manager. I love talking to him. He is a baseball dude. Yep. But did he ever come up to you and be like, hey, do what you did when I was in the stands in Toledo?
Nah. He didn't really say. Honestly, he didn't mess with me. He didn't say too much. He just kind of would check around. He would walk around the field, check in on everybody. How you doing? This and that. Give you a quick little tip of like, hey, this guy's good fastball, which like I forget who it was. It might have been Flo. He was throwing like 90 to 92. He's got good fastball, and like nowadays it's like that's the changeup. And so he didn't mess with me too much. I mean, obviously he loved to smoke the cigarettes, the Marlboro Red. The whole dugout stunk, and I'm like, what's this guy doing? Trying to like lock in here.
So is he?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That was actually how. Yeah, go ahead.
I do remember one time with Leyland, he asked me, there was a situation coming up in the game, and he was like, Joyce, can you bunt? And I'm like, I'm not coming out of this game, dude. You're not going to pull me out. I'm like, yeah, I can bunt. Dude, I never bunted in the minor leagues. I hit third or fourth. I'm like, I was like, yeah, I got it. And ended up fouling a couple balls off. And I think I ended up hitting a home run. And I think I had two strikes, and they tried to go fastball up and in, and I ended up like hitting a home run. He was like, I thought you said you could fucking bunt. I was like, oh man, I tried. Gave it my shot.
And I love the fact that he sets you up there to bunt. You come up with a home run, and he still has the humor to tell you, like, dude, you told me you could bunt. What's up with that?
Right. Yeah. So.
What was it like playing for him? Because you've played for, I'm going to get into it, but you played for different type of managers. So he's your first manager in the big leagues, and he's an old school baseball guy. Like you said, he smokes the cigarettes, all that. What was it like?
Yeah. I mean, listen, for the most part, felt like the best managers were the easiest ones to play for, right? In the sense that they didn't really mess with you too much. For me, obviously being a rookie and then, how well known he was, it was intimidating. He was pretty intimidating. And so, it was just a matter of play the game the right way, right? You play hard. I mean, like I'm 23 years old. Like I'm not going to, hit a ground ball and not run it out. Like that's not going to happen. Right. So, it was definitely intimidating. I almost like tried to stay under the radar and then just play the game hard. I think he wanted me to be a little bit more, I guess, loud, outgoing, and, kind of create some like excitement or energy in the clubhouse and in the team because you had a lot of older guys, you had a
Right.
lot of older vets, right? And for me, it was just like I was more a quiet guy that just went about his work. And then obviously you're stepping in a situation where there's, all these vets. Like I'm not going to be a loud guy. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, we didn't even make the playoffs. We were like predicted to win the World Series, but yeah, it's still a really good experience.
Who was the most intimidating guy on that team for you?
Uh, Man, I don't know. I mean, Cabrera was there, right? But Miggy was pretty chill, pretty easy going. I think Sheffield was probably the most intimidating for me because there was one game I started and Sheffield did it. And he was pissed. He went into Leyland and mother effed him and basically was like, you're starting this 23-year-old, over me. And, what are you doing? This guy ends up hitting 500 something home runs, right? And I don't know. I mean, obviously Chef at that time, he kind of had some injuries he was battling. And, I wasn't going to say anything to him. I'm just like, hey, man, I'm just doing what I'm told here.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. Didn't mean to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, Chef lives a few minutes from me now. I see him here and there. And, we kind of shoot the shit a little bit. And I still think he should have made the Hall of Fame. But, good dude.
It's funny. No matter who I talk to, if it's a third baseman or an infielder, I always ask the question, who was the guy that you were most scared of when they were up? Every single third baseman goes
Oh my
Gary
God.
Sheffield.
For sure.
Not even close.
Yeah. I mean, dude, if we played cricket, like he would have hit over 100 home runs because he would pull so many balls foul that were home runs because he was just like his top hand, with that bat waggle was so strong that he would get it, he would catch it out front and be able to backspin it. And like, I'm like, bro, why don't you just aim that way? Like, what are you doing? Like, just turn your feet, aim that way. You're going to hit like 70 home runs. Like, what do you?
Nick Punto told me a story on this podcast where he said, like, you see him with the waggle, right?
Uh-huh.
And he had a timing mechanism and he had a tell. And all of a sudden he would hear like the shortstop give a whistle, like slider was coming or off speed was coming. And he's like, oh crap. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Like, like it's an off speed pitch to Sheffield and I'm at third base. And he's like, he hit one and he's like, I just took a step back and I made the play and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm sure he was hitting it 120 off the bat. He was, and his bats, bro, I picked up one of his bats and I was like, what? This is a tree trunk, dude. Like, what is
it? Was that heavy?
It was heavy. Yeah, it was heavy. He was so strong, bro. So strong. And like he had these grip strength things, like the metal things that you squeeze to drink. And he had like 3 different kinds. One was like normal and then stronger and then like the strongest. And he was on the strongest one, just like squeezing it. And I was like, Kip. His forearms were ridiculous. He was superhuman.
Wow. I didn't know that. I just thought he was that freak of nature who had that gift, but I guess he was working on the strength.
Yep.
Wow, that's really cool. So, all right, the next year, so you come up that year in 2008 and you're playing well, but then you get traded in the offseason.
Yep.
You get traded to Tampa Bay. So I got to imagine that there's like mixed emotions for you. One, you're going home. You're going to Tampa.
Yep.
2, you're leaving this veteran-laden squad who has a chance to be in the postseason World Series seemingly every year. So what was that like when you first heard that you're getting dealt?
I mean, when I first heard it, I was playing winter ball in Mexico because they wanted me to go work on hitting off speed. And I was like, dude, I just played full season. Like, I don't want to go to Mexico in my winter, my off season to play more baseball. Are you crazy? And of course, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got to do what they say. I'm going to do whatever they want me to do. And honestly, it was a good experience for me. I faced a lot of guys throwing off speed, met some really cool guys that, I've seen throughout the years that have stayed around the game. Yeah, I mean, just a different world to be able to go play in Mexico and experience, what Mexico was like and playing winter ball and all that jazz. It was a good experience for me. But, I played well. And then, I mean, we were, God, I don't even know, a month and a half in, I think, something like that. And I ended up getting a call from my dad. Is it my dad or my agent? I think my dad. And he was like, somebody, it was one of them, and they were like, well, you're coming home. And I'm like, thank God. I'm ready to get out of here. And they go, no, you're traded. You got traded to the Rays. You're coming home. You're going to play at home. And I was like, oh, seriously? And yeah, I mean, I think at that point I was very excited, right? Like, I mean, who wouldn't want to play for their hometown team? So that was cool. I mean, I did end up leaving Mexico right after that. And then coming home and then meeting Andrew Friedman and then, kind of the front office. Obviously Joe was there and the Rays were coming off of the World Series run in 2008.
Correct. Yeah.
So they had the young team that, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like this team is stacked. They just had a World Series run. I'm getting to go home to play in front of like my family and friends. And I was stoked. I was excited. 2009, I really wasn't up very much, which was really frustrating. It was Gabe Kapler and Gabe Gross were manning right field. And then you had Crawford and BJ and the other spots in the outfield. And I was hitting like 320 in AAA. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? But they also had, they wanted to control me longer, right? So they had those guys signed. They didn't really want me to be a Super 2, right? And so they didn't want to pay me extra. And so it's just kind of like it's part of the business. But we ended up winning the whole thing in AAA that year, which was cool.
So you got your bonus after all.
So I guess.
It's not quite the same bonus.
Yeah, not the same. I would rather be in the big leagues for sure.
How much pressure is there when you're playing for the team that you grew up watching, the team that, it's your hometown team and you've got friends and family? You're not even leaving tickets for them all the time, but somebody's in the stands every game that knows you.
Yeah, it was the pressure was crazy. I mean, even when you first get called up to the big leagues, right? Like that first game was such a jump in the amount of like energy and pressure that, you just get trial by fire, right? Like you get thrown in the fire and you're just like, you got to figure it out. So same thing with that. I mean, anytime that there was the start of the season, opening day, a big game, a big moment, playoffs, anything like that. I mean, there was just the pressure. There was always the pressure to perform. And there was always, your heart rate would elevate, right? Start beating out of your chest. And you just have to like really try to control it and try to like calm the nerves, control the thoughts, slow the game down. And then from there, it's like, all right, who am I facing? What's the approach? And what am I looking for? What am I trying to do? And then just try to execute. But like a lot of that came from even from when I was young, when, your parents or scouts are watching and my dad's like, listen, block it all out, right? Like it's you and the ball and don't worry about who's watching. Just play the game. And that, that was kind of the mindset. I mean, before the game, it was, hey, I'm gonna say hi to people, take some pictures, sign some autographs. And then when I crossed the line, game started, it was like, you got to flip the switch, right? Now you got to go compete. Now you kind of have to have that alter ego. And that was kind of the mindset that I had with it.
Anybody show up to a game for the Rays when you're playing there that just completely shocked you? Somebody from your past, maybe it was a teacher or somebody, and when you saw them, you were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here.
I mean, honestly, it was every game I had somebody that was like, Armwood High School, Florida Southern College. I played softball with your dad, and I'm like, dude, I was like 5 years old. I don't remember. Yeah. I don't really remember, But no, it was cool. It was a cool experience. I do remember a teacher in college, and you got to sit with the teacher to kind of pick out like what your major is going to be and what you want to do. And so it was Professor Hopkins, and he was kind of like, hey, so what do you want to do after school? And I was like, well, I want to play baseball. I'm going to be a baseball player. He goes, that's really not a good idea. That's not really,
Yeah.
chances of that happening. And I'm just like, just crush my dreams. And I remember seeing him at a Rays game. He's like, "Hey, Matt." I was like, "I don't know, man. You told me
Yeah.
don't drink, crush my dreams."
Yeah.
But
Hey, could I
obviously,
get your autograph? No, you told me I wasn't going to make it.
yeah, right. But obviously, you look back and you understand the statistics and how rare and how hard it is, and you understand. So, but it was funny.
2011, you get off to a phenomenal start and you make the All-Star team. So now I'm just sitting here going like, you're playing for your hometown team. You get named an All-Star. Who was the person you called first when you got that notification that you're an All-Star?
Yeah, probably my dad.
Hmm.
I mean, he was the one that pushed me the most, that worked with me the most. And honestly, I mean, even if you ask him, I mean, he lived vicariously through me, because that was his dream. So, yeah, I think he was probably more excited than I was. But yeah, what a cool experience to go over to Arizona. And he came over and got to watch the game. And we got to watch Cano win the home run derby. Bryce Harper was a young kid sitting there watching the home run derby, and I'm like, "Who's this little jit?" Like, turns out he's future Hall of Famer probably. So yeah, I mean, just overall cool, really cool experience. I ended up getting a hit in the game. Like everybody was out there watching the game. I'm like in the cage, like I'm like doing tee work, and I'm like trying to like make sure that I can like be ready, when they call me. And I remember taking batting practice with Josh Hamilton. He was in the same group. And Price and Shields were shagging out in the outfield. And Hamilton is just launching balls. Like he is a monster, dude. Like he's hitting them dead center, like halfway up the scoreboard. I mean, 450 feet. I don't even know. These were just launched. And I'm hitting line drives over short. And Price and Shields came in and like, "Dude, what are you doing? Hit some home runs."
You
This guy's
actually
monster.
you actually went and replaced Hamilton in that game.
Yeah.
And so you went and played left field. You went 1 for 2 in that game. Who'd you face?
The closer for, I think it was Pittsburgh. Who?
Mark
God.
Melanson?
No, it wasn't Melanson.
Okay.
Gosh, why can't I remember his name? Don't take
Okay.
my phone.
It's okay. So is that who you got the hit off of?
So I got the hit off of. Yeah.
All right. Be honest with me. When were you more nervous? During that in the All-Star game or like your debut?
No, debut. No doubt. The All-Star game was yeah. You're a little nervous, but it's kind of mid-season. Like you've already got a bunch of games, so it's like you're in the flow a little bit more. But yeah, the whole All-Star experience is just insane. It's just like one thing after the next. And I just did not know any better. I wasn't prepared at all. Like I'm showing up, they were like, "Oh, you got to get on the bus." And like, we went to go do interviews and I'm wearing like a crappy t-shirt, and like everybody else is dressed nice. And I'm like, "Oh God, look like an idiot," So I was not prepared.
Who was the player that when you got to the All-Star festivities, your practice, the BP, all that kind of stuff, that you were like, "Man, I'd love to ask this person a question."
I don't know. I didn't really want to bother anybody, to be honest with you. There was that going in that locker room was definitely, that was the second time I was a little bit starstruck for sure. Cause you're just around all stars. Right. And so Jeter and Cano and God, I mean, obviously Hamilton was a monster then. And all these guys, everybody is just like guys you watch, grow up, kind of idolizing, who they are. They're superstars. And, and you're just like, you almost kind of question yourself, like, "Damn, am I supposed to be here?" Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, everybody was cool though. I mean, everybody goes about their business and like you're trying to get the stuff and settle in and get ready to kind of play a game. And then there's just reporters everywhere just interviewing you and people trying to get you to sign stuff all the time. So it's a very kind of intense experience.
Do you have that moment? And I'm asking because I'm such a huge sports fan, and I know that you love sports and you love baseball and all the times with your dad, where you look around and you're like, "Oh my, Oh my God. I'm a major league all-star. Like
Mhm.
I'm here. Like this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of those times where you kind of like pinch yourself moments, right? Um, I would say like one of the coolest earliest moments was my first at bat in front of my dad, where um, he couldn't get up in time to see me the first, I think, couple games. He didn't see my first hit. So like we faced the Red Sox. I didn't get a hit. I sat the next game because I think it was lefty. I came in to pinch hit, got a hit off of Julian Tavares. And then the next game was against the Yankees. And my dad came up and he was a huge Yankees fan. And my first at bat in front of my dad ended up hitting a home run. And he was dealing with a lot of like back issues. He was very like sick at the time. He had like an infection in his spine. Like we really didn't know,
Oh
if he was
wow.
going to make it. And so it was just a really cool, special moment because I never hit a home run in front of him in the minor leagues. He came to some games, and then first at bat, against his old favorite team, his son cracks one, and I mean he was stoked, right?
Okay,
So,
who was it off of?
Rastner. Yeah.
Uh,
No,
uh,
nobody that, it's not Clemens or anything.
and
So
that's okay. That's okay. But then when you're rounding the bases, did you know where your dad was? Did you see him as you're rounding the
yeah,
bases?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I knew where he was. He would always yell and, God, from literally high school, college, he would always yell to let me know, that he was there. So he did before that game too. So
What
yeah.
would he yell?
No, he just yells, just hey slugger, something like that. And I look up and say hi to him. And so after I rounded bases, touch home plate, point up at him and, just say, hey, that one's for you, Pops.
Were you like fighting back tears? Again, it's weird because you're in the moment, you hit a home run, but if you can actually think about what just happened and you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah. I
there
mean,
that emotion?
it's an emotional moment for sure. Um, yeah, a little bit, you're kind of like, man, that's crazy. The game, just never know what's going to happen.
And again, the full circle moment, it's against your dad's favorite team for him growing up.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah. And
first
then
time you hit a home run in front of him.
first home run in the big leagues.
Right.
I'm trotting around the base. I got Cano. I see Jeter, A-Rod. I'm like, what is happening? This is weird. This is surreal. So
It's
that
so
was
s- that's my favorite part is that when you can be still a fan when
yeah,
you're playing and be like, holy shit, I'm there. Okay, Hall of Famer. Like, wait, I'm rounding the bases right
crazy.
now.
It's crazy.
It
Yeah.
is crazy. I need to ask, speaking of a Hall of Famer, you played with Mike Trout
Mhm.
for 1 year with the Angels. Tell me about Trouty as a teammate. Tell me about him as a player. Like, can you compare anybody that you played with to him?
First up, Trout was the man, dude. Trout's the best. He was my locker mate, so I got
Oh,
fortunate enough to sit right next to him, for the full season. And yeah, that season that was a tough one for me. I trained so hard in the off season, and it was my free agent year, and so just a lot of expectation, and I ended up like going to a bigger bat and getting a lot stronger. Just worked really hard, and because of that, like I tried to do more, so my swing got a little bit longer, and had a bigger leg kick, all kinds of different stuff that just like really worked against me. And so I had a really bad season. I struggled a lot that year. But Trouty he's a freak of nature. It was special to watch what he was able to do on a nightly basis. It just seemed like everything was easy for him. It was crazy. I was in his group in spring training and we're like hitting off the machine and like he just didn't have to like try so much harder. Everything was it just came easy to him. So it was a little frustrating to be honest. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm killing myself over here. He would work out once or twice a month, just do some push and pull, and he would wait until right before the game and run out and just kind of jog out to center, say what's up to somebody, jog back, and then the game would start, and he would walk the first bat, steal second, go into the outfield, rob a home run, next at bat, hit a home run, and you're just like, what the hell is happening right now? This guy like just threw some cleats and glove out there and like didn't do so much extra work. He was just that much more gifted, and again, it just seemed like it came really easy to him. But I mean, my favorite part with Trout, he was so humble.
Mm-hmm.
He was very humble. He's very down to earth, just a good dude, treated everybody, nicely with respect. Wasn't a loud guy, played the game the right way, played hard. Man, he's the best.
I've always loved Mike Trout for one reason, among all others, is that here is a guy who is the best player in baseball, and every single game before the game, he's signing autographs. Like, I'm just like, dude, you are literally making these kids' dreams come true, signing the autographs, and he'll do it essentially up until first pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, he just had so much confidence that in his swing and his abilities that it wasn't, for me, it was like, man, I had to do so much extra work, to make sure that I was ready and prepared and confident going into the game and stepping in the box. But he was just like, I got it, and so, yeah, I mean, he was, to your point, like he would take the time almost every single game to go out there and say hello, sign a couple autographs. And like a lot of superstars didn't necessarily do that.
You mentioned your swing got a bit long that
Mhm.
year. One thing I've always been amazed with him is how compact his swing is.
Yep.
And I love golf, and I look at him, and what stood out to me was like he can stay connected through a baseball swing. I could only imagine what he could do through a golf swing. And I've now been told like he can hit the ball 390 yards, and it makes sense.
Yep.
Would you ever pick his brain, or would he look at you and be like, "Hey, Matty, like just try to shorten up a little bit. You're getting too long," or he wouldn't even do that?
Nah, he didn't really give me a lot of feedback. I picked Pujols' brain a little bit. Pujols gave me a couple things. I mean, again, for those guys, they're such freaks of nature that like his approach was purely, I'm going to hit the ball to right field or right center. That's all he thinks is I'm going to hit the ball to right center. Like, and for me, a lot of times when I was going well, that's what I was thinking. I'm going to hit a line drive over short, maybe a low line drive up the middle if the guy had more ride. But for him, it was just, that was it. That was his thought process. And it was funny because he did play a lot of golf. Like if his swing didn't feel good, he would go play golf, and he felt like it would get him into the slot and like where he wanted to be, and then he would go play well. He would have a good game, which was really interesting because that wasn't the case for me, and that's why I played golf righty, because I felt like it messed with my swing. So yeah, Pujols was the same way.
Wait, he would go play golf to get his swing in sync?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was something about like their back elbow getting connected. And I don't know, man, just the way that the golf swing would work would be similar for them in their baseball swing. So it was pretty interesting.
That is so crazy because I was doing a game one time, a Dodgers game, and Mark McGwire was the hitting coach. So you talk about moments, right? That you're kind of like, is this really happening to me? But I'm the day before at the batting cage, sitting there talking with McGwire, and we start talking about golf. And I mentioned how he was always so good at hitting those low balls.
Yep.
And he said, that's all from golf.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I go, wait, what? And he said, I played golf before I played baseball. And so that was the reason why he would be so good at those things. He said that golf helped his baseball swing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, looking back for me, I can understand it a lot more. I just felt like I got tilted. Like, I would, I didn't know how to manipulate the bat and the barrel with the golf swing. So it's just my shoulders would get really tilted.
Yep.
And then once that happened, any fastball that was, belt high didn't have a chance really. So, but now I understand, like, as I got up later in my career, I was like, I was able to get into different positions and do different drills that helped me, that were similar to like how you would do a golf swing.
You have to tell me what it was about hitting with the bases loaded that you just had confidence. I looked at your numbers. Do you even know what you were with the bases loaded?
No, I don't know what the end.
Do you know how many grand slams you had?
I had a few. I had a few grand slams in there.
You had 5 career grand slams.
Yeah.
You were 24 for 67. That's a 358 batting average with the bases loaded.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
No, that's really freaking good. So, so what was it about you going up with the bases loaded that you felt like maybe you were the one in control versus the pitcher being in control?
I mean, I think there was two main things that played to my strength, right? So for me, I think one of my biggest strengths was the plate discipline, right? And so I didn't chase out of the zone too much. And so if the pitcher didn't get ahead, they had to come to me, right? And so if they fell behind 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, whatever it was, hitters counts, I was in the driver's seat and they couldn't walk me, right? And so they had to come to me and they had to throw. And then my other strength was fastballs. I hit fastballs really well, and struggled a lot on the off speed. And so for most of my career, it was take the off speed until I get to the fastball. And if they get me 2 strikes, I'll work the count. I was able to lay off a lot of stuff, a lot of off speed pitches. And then if they force me to hit it, then I'll have to hit it. But I want to hit the fastball. And so that was 2 things where it was like, all right, like I'm going to wait for the fastball. They're going to give me one eventually. And if they fell behind in the count, like I'm dead red, and they couldn't walk me. They couldn't really pitch around me because they would have to let a run in. And so typically worked out,
Is that the reason why you were also successful as a pinch hitter?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where looking back it's hard not to get frustrated to go from the Angels, where it was such a tough year for me in my free agent year. And then the following year I went to play Dominican, got a little bit, went back to a little bit smaller bat, cleaned up the mechanics a little bit. And so my swing was, more efficient. Like it wasn't as long and all over the place. And then with the Pirates, the big thing is I pinch hit a lot. And the only way to be successful for me with pinch hitting was to get up the game speed. And so I had to see velocity. And so they had these great machines that most of the other teams that I played for didn't have at the time. And so they were, I don't remember what they were called, but they were very similar to hitting in a game. And so for me, it was perfect. It was just like, all right, like I'm going to take my game reps. And as soon as I went into the game for that one at bat, I was up to game speed. I was ready. And so a lot of times, especially going from American League to National League, they didn't necessarily know me. They knew I was pinch hitter. They were like, hey, go right at them. And, that first half, I just hit a ton of home runs because I was like dead red. They went right after me and I was ready for it. And then the second half, they started to throw a lot off speed, and I struggled. So it was a little different.
In my head right there, I just thought about Major League and Pedro Serrano.
Yeah.
You get up there and you're hitting bombs. Who is this guy? Hey, throw him some curveballs.
Yeah. That was me for sure. But it was a different speed, and like I didn't know how to adjust. And like, I don't know, man. It was the things you learn as you get later in your career. And then by that time, your body has a hard time doing it.
It's so weird how everybody always says, like, as they get later in their career, their mind, their brain is so much better, but the body can't do what the mind can. Like if you had that early in your career, oh my gosh.
Right,
And maybe
exactly.
that's what separates like a Mike Trout, the fact that he could do that at a young age. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, Trouty,
Pujols.
he could hit the fastball, and he was very good at adjusting to the off speed. I remember we played him with the Rays, and this was when Trout was young, and he was like the next, basically superstar. And Boxberger was pitching, and I remember sitting there, and I got pulled out of the game for I think Sean Rod to pinch hit, and like the game was on the line, and Trouty's coming up to the plate, and I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, like let's see how good this kid is. And Boxberger had one of the best changeups in baseball at that time, and so I don't even know, second or third pitch, he threw him a changeup, and he hit it out and walked off the game. And I'm like, okay, he's that good. Like, that's ridiculous. So yeah, he was special, man.
You also told me when we played golf that, here you are, you worked out all off season, got yourself in great shape, bulked up and this and that. You said Trout would go into the like weight room like once a week and just go like, All right, I'm done. Yep. And just be
Ready.
jacked.
And he was already, again, like different, body type. It seemed like he had the fast twitch muscle fiber. And then like, when he was in the minor leagues, he was explosive. But he was a little bit thinner. And then I think he had like some thyroid issues. And so like he gained a little bit of weight, but he still had the explosive, fast twitch muscle. And so now he had mass and the explosive, and you're like, okay, this is, it's not normal. So, yeah.
Phil Nevin told me after his rookie year, he said to me, we're at the Rose Bowl. He goes, I go, hey, how's Trout? He said, the best player I've ever seen. I go, Nev, come on. Like, better than Griffey, Bonds. He goes, Kutch, the best player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then Nevin went on to manage him and Ohtani and this and that. But you also got a chance to play for my favorite player of all time in Miami for Don Mattingly.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it was a COVID season. It was a shortened season. You have to tell me, you played for Leyland, you played for Madden, you played for Sosha. What was Don Mattingly like to play for?
Don was awesome, dude. I mean, you had a guy that was a left-handed hitter, who hit 330 something, in the big leagues. Like, I mean, he was a hitter, right? And so for me, like, I got along really well with him. Would pick his brain a little bit here and there, and but he was just cool, right? Like most managers were that I played for were really easy to play for, right? They were just there if you need them. And then obviously if something came up in the game, they would kind of, speak to you if they had to. But most of the time it's like, hey, go about your business and play the game. And, if they got something to tell you, then they'll tell you. I mean, he gave me a couple things with hitting. I faced deGrom a bunch of times and like I struggled with him. And a lot of times it was like those guys that had like the life on the fastball, especially if he threw harder, 98, I would always really look for the ball down. And deGrom just ate my lunch, right? Like it was like 0 for 10 or something against him. And it was just like, I think you should try to look for the ball up against this guy. He throws you a lot of change-ups down. He throws you that little cutter down and in. And if you look for the ball up, you're going to lay off that. And so I did. I ended up walking. I got a hit the next at bat. And, I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So, he just saw the game a little bit differently and like to have, a guy that could hit it at the highest level was cool to have as a manager.
Would you ever go back and look at, again, your dad, his favorite team was the Yankees. Would you ever go back and look at footage of Mattingly as a hitter to see any similarities or pick up anything for yourself?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I watched video. I saw a video on him and his crouch stance and like, where his hands were and stuff like that. And I think he was just talented. He was extremely talented, right? And so a lot of times it's like what works for you. What are your keys for your swing? Especially like if my thing was like if I get the pitch to hit, I have to square it up. I have to hit it hard somewhere. If it's line drive, home run, wherever, whatever. Like my swing, when I fire my swing, it has to be able to get, when I get that pitch to hit, I have to be able to square it up. And so that was it. Like, what do I have to do to get there? And so at that point, like, I know what I have to do. It's just a matter of get the right pitch. And then, you have the right approach. And then obviously, hopefully hit it where they're not standing, really, try not to make it too complicated.
I got a chance to do a game. It was in 2017, Reds Marlins. He was the manager of the Marlins. And in our managerial meeting, we talked for 30 minutes about hitting. It was the coolest 30 minutes I've ever had doing a broadcast beforehand. But he talked about how he would sit off speed.
Yep.
And I go, what? He said, yeah. He goes, I knew I could get the fastball. But I sat off speed. He goes, all my home runs that went to like center field and left center were fastballs. The ones I pulled were off speed. Mm-hmm. I was blown away.
I think that's something that I learned how to do later in my career. And like, I just didn't know because most of the guys that you ask are like, stay on the fastball, adjust to the off speed, or just take the off speed, right? And that was always the message. And I never had a hard time with fastballs. Like I catch the fastball out front easy, right? And so as I got later in my career, I learned that it was a timing issue. It was like, okay, I'm timed up for the fastball. I'm timed up to catch it out front, but the off speed, like, especially as they know they're going to attack you early, try to get ahead of you with an off speed pitch. And so for me, it was like, I got to start a tick later. And so I let the ball travel. And once it's there, I'm able to catch it. And that was something he actually saw me do. And then I'm getting like a big hit for us. And I hit like a curveball to between short onto the left side. And I was sitting off speed, drove in like a go ahead run. And then he ended up like switching me to hit fourth because he was like, all right, like, you know how to handle the bat and how to have a good approach. And, I didn't have the same power, when I was 36-ish, whatever it was, 36 as I did when, you're 28. Right. So
that's really cool. Need to go back to that 2011 season real quick.
Yep.
Game 162. The entire month of September, the run that you guys made, I believe you were out of the playoffs by 9.5 games entering the month. And the final game of the regular season, you guys are playing the Yankees at home. The Red Sox are playing the Orioles. If you win, the Red Sox lose, you're in the playoffs. If you guys both win, I think you're out.
I think we're out too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if whatever, there was also a chance for a 1-game playoff. You guys are down 7-0 early to the Yankees in that game. Take me back to what it was like as a team going into the game, and then also when you fall behind early.
Yeah. So I'll go back to 8 weeks. We had 8 weeks left in the season, and Johnny Damon stood up, and we were 8 games out of making the playoffs. And he goes, "We just got to pick up 1 game a week," and we're right there. And sure enough, as we got into that last month, we were 4-ish games out, and we had some momentum, we had some confidence of like, all right, like we're within striking distance. And then as we got down to the last series against the Yankees, we were right there. We were right in the mix. Game 161, I ended up coming up, against Soriano, who was our former closer, and hit a big 3-run homer for us that ended up getting us to game 162 to be able to, to kind of put us in a spot, which was honestly one of the cooler moments of my career. And 162, they started a lefty. I forgot who it was, and I struck out a couple times. And then Joe Madden was like, "All right, you get out of the game. Like you're done." And so I was a little upset because I didn't get to face my righties later in the game and have another crack at it. But I think Teixeira hit a grand slam. A-Rod, I think it was A-Rod, hit another home run. So like we got down 7 runs fast, and it was just like, oof, man, like this is not good. And then we started to chip away. I think it might have been Bartlett, a couple guys, Zobrist, those guys got some hits. We started to score some runs. You started to get some momentum. And then, Dan Johnson obviously hit the big home run to tie it up, which was awesome. Played with Dan in AAA, and he had crazy power, but he was a complete goofball, but awesome teammate, awesome dude. And then obviously everybody knows the rest, right? Where Longo came up and ended up hitting a home run down left field line, and became like the infamous game 162. And so that last 5-10 minutes, we were back and forth up in the clubhouse watching the Red Sox game, drinking a little beer because I'm like, hey, it's either the season's over and I need a beer, or we're celebrating and I need a beer. And so, we're watching the game, and like the Red Sox start to fall apart a little bit. And we're like, oh man, we got a shot at this. Dan Johnson hits home run. We're like, oh my God, we're right there. Let's go. Like we run up to clubhouse watching the Red Sox. Red Sox end up blowing it. And we're like, holy shit, like we run down to the dugout. We're like, let's go. We just got to win. And within 3 minutes, dude, Longo hits the home run. And like, we just go, crazy. Everybody goes crazy. And like, there's a lot of people that left. And honestly, it was probably one of the most exciting, craziest games, if not 10 minutes of baseball I've ever seen and been a part of, without a doubt. It was awesome.
Who were you running back and forth to the clubhouse, the dugout with, like giving the updates?
Yeah, I mean, Price was a big part of that. Just like there was a handful of guys we were kind of back and forth, right? So, I think Sean Rod came in for me, and the guys that started were typically still in the game. So the guys that didn't start were up at the clubhouse watching and coming back and forth. And so, yeah, Price was probably the loudest, most excited one. So he wasn't starting that game. So
right.
Yeah,
and then
so.
when Longo goes deep, right? So you just can't. You get the word. You see the Red Sox have lost. You come back down to the dugout. Longo goes deep. Who's the guy that like looks at you like, oh my God, it happened?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at everybody. I mean, you're just like, what just happened? And then obviously you clear the dugout and go to home plate and celebrate. And yeah, it was crazy. It was awesome.
At that moment, when you're celebrating on the field, does it feel like you're back in Little League and just like little kids jumping around?
Oh,
like
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it feels like, right? Like you're pure joy, pure celebration of, you forget all the worries and stress and everything that is you went through and obviously what's to come. So it's just be in the moment.
And then take me back to that 161. You said that home run was maybe one of the coolest moments of your career. When you hit the home run and now you go back into the clubhouse and you guys realize you still have a chance in 162. Like what's the clubhouse like after that win?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we were down 1 or 2 runs there and late in the game. I think it was the 8th inning. And, came up with a couple runners on and ended up working a 3-1 count, got a fastball inside, ended up, hitting it out and just you kind of, I don't know, man, there's just not really a better feeling. I'll be honest. Like that one is, pressure's on and you're able to come through. It's just such a high that is hard to match in the real world. And then from there, it's like you still got momentum. You're still in it. You got confidence. You just won. You just got to win one more game, and obviously let the chips fall where they may. Try to control your own destiny. And then, yeah, you mount a crazy comeback. It was awesome. Such a roller coaster ride.
That's so cool. All right, dude. I love to.
Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll chop it up some more.
I love to end all my podcasts with a segment I call This Just In. Okay. So it's a rapid fire segment. It's a rapid fire questions. You can take as long as you want to answer, but I reserve the right to ask a follow-up.
Yep.
All right. You played in Tampa Bay, Oakland, Miami. I know Miami was COVID season. Those 3 places aren't known to have packed stadiums. So when you don't have a packed stadium, it's a lot easier to hear what fans are saying. What is something that you heard in maybe one of those 3 stadiums that made you actually laugh out loud?
Honestly, it makes me think of Toronto, a game in Toronto.
Okay.
Like the packed, if they weren't that packed, it was a little bit more rare to have rowdy fans, and so when you went to like New York or Boston, like, a little up north, even Toronto, where like, okay, there's more people, like there would be somebody that's rowdy and yelling at you. And so like the quieter games, like you really didn't hear too much, right? You would hear some conversations, maybe somebody yell at you, some dumb whatever. But like there was one that cracked me up in Toronto where a girl yelled and I was playing left field and she was just like, Joyce, I'm pregnant. It's yours. And I'm like, oh my God. And then some guy yells, Joyce, I'm pregnant. It's yours. And I was like, oh my God, these guys are idiots. That one made me laugh out loud.
That's good. Superstitions. Did you have any?
Yeah, stupid little stuff like, I would wear the same socks, although I would wash them. Like I wouldn't change the socks, or like batting gloves, same bat. If I had something that was like working, I did not want to change it. Right. So just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
How fast was your heart beating when you were introduced at the 2011 All-Star game?
It was beating fast, but not as fast, just because I wasn't starting.
Mm-hmm.
Not as fast as the opening day. for
Okay.
me. Well, it wasn't opening day. It was the first game for me.
Right. How
Cinco
about
de Mayo.
more nervous? Your first postseason at bat or your first All-Star game at bat?
Probably first postseason. Man, that's hard to think back and remember that one. I remember playing against Texas and just like, man, everything. And I wasn't, fortunate enough to go deep. I made the playoffs 6 times, but I wasn't fortunate enough to go like deep in the playoffs. But it just seemed like everything got more and more magnified, right? And so like your focus really kind of got more and more magnified. But those were, bigger games, bigger moments. Everything, every pitch mattered, and so you're just like locked in the whole time, and it's exhausting.
The best teammate you ever had?
Wow, best teammate I ever had. I don't know. I mean, I felt like there was always 1 or 2 guys on each team that I really clicked with, that I really got along with. And you think like you got 25, 26 guys. And so there's going to be, a bunch, but really pitchers stay with pitchers.
Mhm.
You have a lot of, your middle infielders are mostly like Latin players, right? So
Yep.
typically it's usually like me and a third baseman, first baseman, or catcher, right? Outfielders. I mean, you have a very diverse group, but each team was like Inge was with the Tigers. I liked Zobrist and Pena with the Rays a lot. We got along and hung out a bunch. Freeze with the Angels and Pittsburgh. Played together multiple times. He was awesome. I don't know. There's just always a couple guys. And I tell you what, though, like I would say the Oakland A's probably had the biggest group of guys that were just we just all hung out.
I love it.
And I was the MC on the bus, which is probably, we could talk about this for the next
Oh,
podcast.
dang.
So we can,
all right.
we could get into that next podcast.
All right. So that sounds good. Okay. Then fine. Who was the best leader that you played with?
Longo was a really good leader,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. He just knew, he was the guy. He knew he was the guy. And he was pretty quiet, reserved. He went about his work. But like when it was time to step up and say something or hold a standard, he knew that was his responsibility and he did it. The other guy was Bryce, actually, Harper. He was one of those guys that, you kind of hate playing against. You don't really like because you're just like, this guy's,
Mhm.
But like when you play with him, you're just like, he's the man. He wants to win. He's a competitor, And he loves the big moment. He lives for it. He's, they call him the showman, because
Yeah.
that's just who he is. And so, if there's something to be said, he's going to stand up and say it and let it be known. And then he's going to go, work his butt off to back it up.
I love it. Dude, I appreciate you doing this. Some great stories. I can't wait for the next one when we find out about the music that you would take as the MC on the bus.
I was the mic guy, okay? So I called out the rookies. So we have a couple stories for sure.
Now we're just teasing people. This is fantastic. You're a good TV guy. All right, Matty Joyce, thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having me.
soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right.